Hi, welcome back to Wiki Design. If you're new here, welcome. My name is Barbara, and in this series, we are going to go over how to get your website online. Now, this is part 2 of the series, so if you haven't watched part 1 yet, which is all about branding, pause this video and go watch that video because there's a lot of information packed into that video that you're going to need to move forward in this process. Also, make sure you're subscribed and click that notification bell so you know exactly when we upload new videos to this series. Okay, so we figured out our branding, we know who our ideal customer is, and we know how we're going to position ourselves in front of them. We learned that in the first video. Now it's time to start thinking about website content. And I know what you might be thinking right now. I thought this series was about building websites. Why aren't you talking about website stuff? I promise you we're going to get to that. But thinking about website content is a really important step in the process because we need to know what we're putting on our website before we can build it. Remember, we want you to build this website the right way. So we need to have all these things figured out because if you don't, you're not going to have an attractive website that gets you leads, gets you customers, and makes you money. That's what we're trying to do here, right? If you know what you want to include on your pages, it makes the whole process of designing the site a lot easier. So that's why we are talking about website content in video 2. The pages of your website will differ depending on the type of business you're in. But besides the homepage, which every website has, there are specific pages that I think every small business website needs. Those pages are an about page, a product or services page, and a contact page. These are really important pages no matter what industry or business you're in. Now, I did put these in the order that I think are most important, and I want you to remember one thing when you're coming up with content for these pages. Your website is not about you. It's about your customers. People are coming to your site because they have a specific problem. You need to let them know that you have the solution. I want you to keep this in the back of your head when it comes to developing your website content. It's really important that you're addressing your clients' concerns and letting them know that you get it, you understand what they're going through, and you have the solution that can help them. You really want to come off as relatable, and good copy and good photos can do just that. I understand that not everybody is a great writer or a professional photographer, and if you have the budget, I do recommend hiring professionals that can help you with these things. But whether you DIY or hire a professional, there are certain things that you're going to need, so that's what we're going to talk about today. What are the things that you need to include on these pages? Okay, let's talk about the About page. I personally think an About page is the most important page of any small business website. Why? Because people don't really know who you are because you're not a big brand yet. So people need to get to know you, and the About page does exactly that. Your About page is a great opportunity to make that connection with your customers. It's also the page that I see so many small businesses getting wrong. People talk way too much about themselves on their About page. Now you might be thinking, but it's my About page. What else am I supposed to talk about? Now, I want you to think about your About page like as if you're going on a blind date. And if you've ever been on a blind date, you know that they can sometimes be really painful, especially if the person that you're on the date with won't shut up about themselves. They just keep going on and on and on about how great they are and all the things that they do and how cool they are. And you're just sitting there like, oh my gosh, this person is so boring. Is it time to go home yet? If you talk like that on your About page, people are going to get the same idea. The truth is, people don't really care that much about your experience, the clients that you worked with, or the awards you achieved. What they care about is what you're going to do to help them solve their problems. While it's good to sprinkle in some of those credentials, your About page shouldn't just be that. It really does need to talk to your customer. Another thing that I see people getting wrong on their About pages are the pictures. I can't tell you how many times I've gone to somebody's About page and there's no pictures of them on the page. They have pictures of people that are clearly stock photos or huge buildings when they're probably working out of their home office. I think what people try to do is appear bigger than they actually are, but that can actually hurt you in the long run. People nowadays are really craving authenticity. So they want to see you. They want to see your employees if you have them. They want to see your storefront. And that might mean taking a picture in your home office because that's where you work. But at the end of the day, if you're real, people are going to respond much better than if you put up a fake image of what you think you should be. People don't care about that. They want to know who you are. Let's talk about the product or service page. Now, what you choose will depend on the business you're in. If you're selling products on your website, you're going to have a product page. If you're providing services, it will be a services page. But no matter what business you're in, there are things that should be on these pages. The first thing that you're really going to need to include are clear descriptions. Now, for products, this is really important because people can't physically hold something that they're purchasing online. So you really need to get down to the nitty-gritty of what it is that you're offering. Talk about every little detail and give a clear picture as to what you're selling. Now, for services, I think this is important as well. You want people to know exactly what they're getting if they invest in you. So don't be vague. Be very clear on what it is that you're offering. Another thing that every product or service page should have are prices. For products, this is pretty obvious because people want to know how much it's going to cost if they buy it from your website. But for services, this is something that some people think you shouldn't do. I personally think it's helpful, and here's why. If your website is geared toward an ideal customer, the budget shouldn't be a factor. Your ideal customer should be able to afford your services. So if you have your prices on the website, even if they're just starting prices, that's going to weed out anybody that isn't your ideal customer, and it saves you a lot of back and forth. There's been plenty of times before I had prices on my website where I'd be talking to somebody that I thought would be a great fit, and then they realize the price is out of their budget. So you kind of waste the time going back and forth, and it's disappointing for both them because they probably really wanted to work with you, and for you because you lost out on another client. So I do think that having prices on the website really does help. Another thing that you're going to want to include is process. This is more towards service-based businesses, but it can work for products as well, especially if you went through a really strategic process of developing this product. I think it's a cool thing to share. But for services pages, I really think it's important to include things that let people know what they can expect. So what's the timeline like? How long are you going to be working together? What can the person expect week by week? Stuff like that really does go a long way because people have questions about that stuff. And if you can answer them on the page, then they're not going to have to contact you. They'll already know what to expect. The last page we're going to talk about is the contact page. This is another really important page of your website because if somebody decides they want to work with you, they're probably going to want to contact you. When it comes to your contact page, I always say give people as many options as possible to get in touch with you. What I like to include are contact forms, but also an email address and phone number if you have it. If you have a physical location, put your address on there, maybe with a picture or a Google map so people can get an idea of where you're located. If you have social media profiles, consider adding links to those as well, because this is another way that people can follow you and potentially get in touch with you. You want to give people as many options as possible. Another thing to consider are FAQs. Sometimes people want to contact you because they have a question, and if that's a question that you get asked a lot, it's good to have an FAQ section so people can get the answer without having to contact you. Instead, they'll contact you because they want to work with you. So definitely consider adding FAQs if you have questions that people ask over and over again. So we got through those 3 important pages, and depending on what business you're in, you might have some additional pages on your website. Things like a portfolio, a gallery, or even a blog. It really depends on the business that you're running. But when you think about those pages, it's really important to also consider the customer. Make sure that you're answering their questions and really delivering the product that they want. It's really important to consider this when creating all the pages of your website. Right now, you might be thinking, what about the homepage? Isn't the homepage a really important page? And yes, it is very important. It's probably the page that people are going to go to first. But I think it's really a lot easier to develop a homepage when you have all the other pages figured out. Because a lot of the time, your homepage is kind of a combination of all those other things. If you go to our website, wikidesign.com, you'll see on our homepage, we have a lot of the content from other pages mixed together on the homepage. You'll see a photo of us, talks a little bit about who we are. It shows our services, it shows our recent blog posts, and we have buttons that you can get in touch with us. So it is kind of a combination of all the different pages on the homepage. So if you have the other pages figured out, it makes developing the homepage a little bit easier. That's it for today. It's time to start thinking about your website content. If you have any questions, leave a comment down below so I can help answer them. And make sure you're subscribed to the channel and ring that notification bell so you get notified when we upload new videos to this series. The next video is going to be all about setting up your WordPress website. So we look forward to seeing you then.